Greetings, Keechlings. Kitchen Prime here with another discussion video, this time My Hero Academia related. And we're going with another power-ups video, this time with Tsuyu Asui, or Froppy, the rainy season hero. During chapter 196, right at the end, we see her using a new ability. And it got me thinking. It was like, is her powers inspired by the Jiraiya myth? And then I was like, well, why limit myself to just that and go with a full power-ups video? Given that she takes on abilities of other species of frogs, it definitely lends itself to having, or her to have quite the arsenal of abilities probably by the end of this series. So here's just a few of my ideas. Inspired by the poison dart frog, she already has like that irritating toxin in her stomach. So if she eats more alkaloid heavy foods such as tomatoes and eggplants, that would up the acidic factor for it, giving it more versatility. I couldn't say that word right. But, you know, and this will be used in another one of the power-ups. But, so yeah, give her more of a poison attack, kinda. Maybe not super corrosive or anything, but enough to, like, maybe really screw with the enemy's skin. Next is based on the Holy Cross Frog, or the Crucifix Toad. And yes, you're probably thinking, she's a frog, not a toad. Well, to be honest, in my research, there's not much of a distinction between frogs and toads. So I think it's fair enough, especially given that I'm just going with the Jiraiya angle. So, anyway, the Holy Cross Frog secretes a non-toxic glue, which in the native wilds of Australia, it digs underground. No, wait, I forget which one it was. I'm getting them mixed up now. I think I might have it mixed up. I'll have it corrected in post. But one of these frogs, like in Australia, it digs underground to kind of keep itself moist because of the arid climate. And then when it comes up during the rainy season, it gets attacked. Yes, it would be this one. Because bugs and stuff start going for it, they get stuck to the glue-like substance, and then it sheds its skin, and then from there, it has a lovely buffet of bugs. So I consider like Tsuyu doing this to use it as like kind of organic handcuffs, or kind of like Spider-Man, where he like with his web shooters sticking people to walls and whatnot. She could kind of do the same thing, except it would be more glue globs, and she just throws it at them or something. I don't know. They secrete it from their neck. No, that was the other one. Damn it, I'm getting them confused now, because very similar, like, frog kinds, but whatever. Anyway, I'm getting off track. So yeah, she could use that to apprehend villains. And even if it's not the strongest glue, it would hold enough to, like, if she knocks them out and then it holds them in place, so when the cops get there, the cops aren't completely, without some level of assistance. And this glue could be used for, like, other things, such as, like, if she has to help somebody, like, do some kind of, like, simple repair on their costume or whatever, because equipment sometimes does depend on how well you can use your abilities. So the frog in question actually is used, or it's being studied to be used in medical procedures, because the glue is actually stronger and less toxic than what we use in medical procedures now. So expect the Holy Cross frog to be used in your local surgeries. But next on the list, we have the waxy monkey frog, which, to be honest, had the best name out of all of them. Why monkey? It's a tree frog. I guess they think monkey, tree, whatever. But anyway, this one secretes wax from its neck, which is used to like deter predators and stuff, because it'd be like, what is this? You know, probably. And also it to help it retain its moisture in its body, because, you know, frogs have to stay moisture, otherwise they shrivel up and die. Poor things. But yeah, I could see Tsuyu using this like in certain situations, because, you know, she is a frog, so staying hydrated would be important. And not every situation is going to have a pool of water near her, so, you know. So she could do this to kind of as a moisturizer, water retainer, whatever, you know. And plus, given that it's wax, it could maybe be used as like a, not an oil slick, but like a slick kind of trap, because it'd just be a, you know, like a semi-solid substance to throw on the ground, tripping up opponents. But it has another function that I will be coming up with my next, or one of the next ideas. But before we get to those, we have frog speak. This one I'm a little iffy on if I should have included it, but it would be fun if it was used. Given her frog biology, she already probably has similar vocal cords. She's allowed to talk because she's human, obviously, but her frog biology does lend that possibility. And after she gets like some animal speaking lessons from Coda, she could maybe summon like an army of frogs. And yes, a group of frogs are called an army. You learn weird things when you research this stuff. So yeah, I kind of picture like she's like, ribbit, ribbit, come to me. And then you have like these frogs that are like, oh, the queen calls us. It's like, we're coming. And they're all just jumping down the street and stuff, you know. So now the next ability is shedding skin, or shed skin, whichever. Obviously it allows her to shed her skin, which would be kind of creepy, but whatever. She's a frog person. We've already kind of breached that odd quality, I believe. This could give her the ability to make like poor quality decoys, you know, like she sheds her skin, it's a hollow thing, she like sets it up somewhere, and then someone goes after that instead of her. And the secondary function would be like that she, like say she gets attacked by an acid villain, but the acid is like slow reacting, but it's starting to burn. And she's like, oh no, I gotta get this off, and she just sheds her skin. And now the poison has left her body, or at least minimizes the damage. So the problem with this one, though, to do like a full body decoy, she basically would have to be naked, and be it that that's not an uncommon trait in the My Hero world, you know, with Hagakure and Momo, their powers best used when they have more skin bearing, obviously. But so I mean, it wouldn't be out of the question for fan service, but I kind of feel, you know, uncomfortable having to make it like that. But so little to no clothing would be needed to make this effect more effective. Good speaking there. Okay, another weird ability that I didn't know frogs had. Night vision. They have the best night vision in all of the animal kingdom. So Tsuyu getting this definitely seemed like a no-brainer. And how this works is that, like, okay, you have the retina and everything. Well, how we perceive colors, you have rods and cones. Cones are what allow us to see vibrant colors. Rods allow us to see, like, the gray spectrum, blacks, whites, and grays. Well, in low light situations, most animals go into that gray spectrum dominated by the rods. Well, frogs, on the other hand, have different sensitivities to their rods, so it allows them to see in color even in the dark. So I thought this would be a fun little ability for her to have. The fact that there's only been like really one situation where this could have even played a part, so it definitely lends that this could be a future development. And then finally getting to probably the most devastating, or one of the more devastating attacks that she could do. It would be devastating to herself if she didn't train it properly. And it's one that I mentioned at the end of my live reaction. Okay, she uses her tongue and coats it in the wax that I mentioned before. And then, using the poison and a custom lighter, lights her tongue on fire and gets a flame whip. Whoa! So that could be fun. And like I said, and the fact that, it could be devastating to her because, well, wax melts. So she'd get like maybe 2 or 3 good hits in, and then obviously has to recoat for her own safety. And then more Jiraiya inspired skills, because like the ancient story of Jiraiya from a couple hundred years, well, it's not really ancient, it's a couple hundred years old. I was having a hard time like trying to find out what his actual abilities were, because it's mentioned he has toad magic, which, as I already said, toads and frogs basically the same thing. I mean, the Holy Cross frog goes by 2 different names, one being a toad and one being a frog, and the thing looks more like a toad in my opinion. Little round cutie. But with the toad magic, no source I ever found could clarify what it does, other than he summons frogs, a giant frog, which that's where the frog speak thing comes from, and also being able to turn into a frog. Well, Tsuyu's already technically there. She's like mid-transformation, I guess you could say. So I kind of had to dive a little into the Naruto anime, because in later versions of the Jiraiya myth, you have him as a full-fledged ninja. So I thought it was fair. But anyway, the first one is Fire Frog Breath. Using the poison, as I said about the poison dart frog qualities, she like regurgitates it and shoots it out while having a custom lighter, as I mentioned before, and then and with that it's just like a flamethrower that she's got now, and it will give her like mid-range. Her tongue is obviously a long-range capability because of, good lord, how long is that tongue? Where does she keep her tongue, to be honest? I like, if it's stretched, that would be one thing, but it's something that I've definitely been thinking about with her lately. I was like, I worry about her. How does she not choke herself while stuffing that thing in her mouth? That sounded more sexual than I intended. But anyway, so yeah, this would give her mid-range without having to physically make contact with something. So it gives her a little bit more like safety range for an attack. Not really how I wanted to best describe it, but whatever. But yeah, those are like some of the... In all, the main attack that inspired this was Jiraiya's fire-style Big Flame Bullet. It's basically a flamethrower that he used in Sage mode. But I thought it would be a nice addition to her abilities, seeing as she's using what looks like a clone technique in the recent chapter. So, yeah, what other ninja's abilities are she's going to get? And also, the whole thing with Jiraiya, he used a transparency jutsu, and she basically does the same thing, so. But that might be based on the transparent frog, which you can see through its skin and, like, see bits and pieces of its, innards. So, I don't know. But anyway, those are about all the ideas I had. So, let me know what you think. Like, comment, and subscribe. Follow me on Twitter at Keishan Prime, and I'll see you next time. Keishlings, roll out.